So I basically was just informed about layoff information after the fact. For context, about 2 weeks ago, my company did pretty significant layoffs, and I was surprised to see that my team was affected. The reason why I say I was surprised is because our team is a pretty quote unquote important team to the company. Our team is pretty understaffed. Anyone who has left the company or switched teams has not been rehired in the past 2 years. Like, there hasn't been a lot of backfill going on. Regardless, our team was impacted by layoffs. The layoffs were done pretty randomly, from my understanding from management and others, that they basically had no idea what was happening, who was getting laid off, and why. And I believe them just because of the fact that at that time, I was backup on call, the second on call, and our primary on call actually got fired while they were on call. Pretty crazy, makes no sense. Basically had to scramble that week, take on call responsibilities, and I didn't really get to even process anything because I literally got a call from the person saying, hey, listen, I got fired, or laid off rather, and good luck, basically. Sucks for me, but you're on call now. So that happened. That was about maybe 2 weeks ago. And it was unfortunate because it was, I don't know, I guess yet another layoff. There's been multiple layoffs in the new advent of high interest rates in the market, shareholders getting salty that they're not getting money hand over fist. And of course, companies want to tout that AI is basically the new best friend and you don't need people, so they get rid of them. Fast forward to now. I basically at that time was told that there was a layoff a little bit earlier than others because I was literally working with a person who was laid off. I ended up getting reassigned from my original team to this new team, and the new team is the team that had the most impacted layoffs. I basically was told, hey, listen, this is not a big deal. These layoffs were completely random. The product you're working on is important, which it actually is important. It's actually a functional requirement since it involves security, LOL. Reason why I say LOL is because this company, got burned by security practices, and then they go ahead and fire a bunch of people working on security. Go figure. And then today, I basically was talking to my new manager, and I was getting the rundown, the information, and I basically, I don't know, this is another shady thing that companies are doing, is that they lay people off and don't tell you who got laid off. I basically learned that one of the senior engineers that we had worked with, someone who had just celebrated a couple months ago being at the company for 20 years, was part of the layoff. I thought this person was on vacation because that's what they were. They went on vacation like, I think late May. And I guess HR did the math. They looked at him taking days off, and management will say like, oh no, because our company has unlimited PTO. It's like, oh no, take your PTO. Oh no, take your time off. But I almost guarantee that was a factor. Obviously, he was there for 20 years. Maybe he was getting paid an amount of money that they think someone who can do it for less can do. Ironically, that's me, because I'm now working on that project. I'm now picking that up. And I've been at the company for 3 years, not 20. I'm not a senior necessarily. I am experienced. But I guess, I was the better option. Of course, the company has no idea that I would work on this. I have no idea if I'm, next to get laid off, the way that layoffs happen every other week. But I thought it was pretty insane to me that, the layoff happened. Nobody knew why it happened. At the same time, I'm now just learning 2 weeks later that one of the senior engineers that was working on an extremely important project got laid off. I'm now trying to ramp up, pick it up, and go through with it. But it's extremely demoralizing. I feel like this is something that is like writing on the wall. I'm joining a team that had multiple layoffs. I'm joining a team that supposedly is working on something super important. Doesn't matter. People got laid off anyway. A lot of people got laid off from this team. Granted, a few were new hires, and maybe they just thought, we'll get rid of the new hires, but then this one super senior person was laid off as well. For me, I have a couple emotions. The one being that I really, I really find it hard to understand how there's so many layoffs when we're so understaffed. I find it hard to understand why there is so much glee and happiness around downsizing, especially when we have so much work to do. Granted, I understand that we're now pivoting and working on things that are more important, and by more important, it means it'll make more money more quickly. But this whole, high interest rate, shareholder first market is not great to work in. It's extremely cringeworthy to see that earnings by earnings. I have to hear management talk about how the market isn't happy with performance, and the market is looking at this, and the market is this, and the market is that. I mean, we don't even talk about, we talk about customers, but we look at customers like blood-sucking leeches. Like, all customers exist for is money. Like, you don't talk about making the customer happy. You just talk about, reducing stress and reducing things. Like, I literally have never, in the 3 years I've been here, really heard any positive emphasis about, like, how customers use the product, how customers interact with it. It's always like, oh, we need to fix this problem. And granted, that's every company. You're going to focus on the negatives because you need to fix things before you can do anything positive. But it's just like, there's no fun involved at all whatsoever. And obviously, let me just put this in a very asterisk way. I work an office job. I work from home. My father worked for years doing hard labor. At no point in time is this a sob story. God forbid if I were to get laid off, there's probably another job I could work and maybe make, not as much money, but enough money to survive. So this is not the end of the world. There's people in worse conditions and worse circumstances than me. But I feel like, this market sucks for new hires. This market sucks for people with experience. This market sucks for people who are in a position who basically are now being told to do more with less. And management and leadership are just, secretive. They don't want to tell you when layoffs are happening. It just happens. And then the only reason it happens is so that when we get to earnings, it's like, hey guys, look, AI replaced this many jobs, and it definitely replaced this many jobs because we fired this many people. And we're totally going to get rid of our backlog, and we're totally going to do everything we already promised and more, but with less. And it's all for the sake of optimizing. Like, you literally had some person at the company I work for. He's one of the VPs and executives who's so out of touch with reality. He actually told people that if you recently experienced a layoff, you should go talk to ChatGPT and Copilot and other AI chatbots and talk about how to deal with it, how to talk to your teammates, how to offboard. And it's like, dude, you're so out of touch with reality. It's so cringe. It's so disgusting. Like I work for these companies. My financial stability is linked to these companies, and like, the more I hear them talk, the more I want to see them basically have some type of comeuppance or realization that they're extremely ridiculously frustratingly cringe, and that they're extremely frustratingly so ignorant. And it's so weird to hear like people basically replace people with AI, and also like, essentially just this industry, which software engineering is like supposed to be so prided on technical knowledge, technical know-how. I mean, just to get a job in this field is ridiculous. You need to literally not only have a degree, but then go do an in-person test for hours on end just to prove that you know what you know. Never mind know what you know more than what you do in the job. And now this industry that's supposedly so prided on intelligence and so prided on, being a problem solver. We want you to be a generalist. We want you to solve problems. Now they're like, oh, it's AI. We don't even need you to think. Like, some companies are saying that, when you do an interview now, you're going to still do problems, but you can use an AI chatbot, and you're going to do more in that interview. We can see how much we can milk out of you. And it's like, the corporate cringe is not even putting the mask on anymore. It's just like, okay, what can we do to get the most amount of money possible? And obviously that's the point of a business, but why does it have to be so robotic? Why does it have to be done with so much glee? Like, what? Like, in 2008, when the recession hit, like, it was unfortunate, and companies did layoffs, obviously, because of the economic impact. But I never saw people cheering and being happy about it. Now people announce layoffs, and then shareholders jump for joy, and they're like, yes, my dividends are going to be fatter this month, and I can use that money to reinvest in the market that's extremely hot and can only get hotter and can never go cold, because if it goes cold, it's the end of the world. And obviously this is not sustainable. This whole AI meme is basically the, death rattle of a market that basically has been on a bull run for, going on 15 plus years at least. And it's unfortunate. It sucks, but it is what it is. I mean, there's worse circumstances. There's worse things to do. There's worse work to do. And really, me complaining about it is literally the smallest thing you could even think of. But I feel like it's changing of the guard. I feel like computer science, if you're majoring in it, you know, take a second think about it, because I think that as useful as the degree is, and that's the thing too, I do work on the side and I do projects on my own where it's kind of like weird how much I miss just doing, you know, actual programming. Now everything is like business meetings and, you know, leadership jargon, but it is a good field. It is, you know, one of those things where you do learn a lot and you can do a lot, but it's becoming ridiculous where they expect employees to be masterminds of interviews, and that's the thing that's so annoying about this industry, is that right now the market is slow, and because the market is slow, in order to get a job somewhere, you need to have a PhD and be a master at LeetCode, and it basically makes this artificial environment of leaving a job so much more strenuous and a lot more anxious than, you know, just applying to jobs, showing your resume and showing up. Either way, I think I'm rambling at this point. All I can say is that the market for computer science and software engineering is pretty flat. It doesn't look too great. There's obviously opportunities for growth and opportunities for different job switching and different things of that nature. But for me, I was kind of looking forward to, you know, just doing my work day to day, not with the axe hanging over my head. And also, I think that, you know, it's a little bit disheartening to know that someone who was a super senior, 20 plus years at the company, someone I would think is basically, you know, should land on their feet. Good for them. They'll probably have a better job. They got their head cut off, so what chance do I have? So why do I even bother building what I'm building? Why do I even bother doing the work that I do? I do it. I enjoy it. I like helping people and building things and, you know, getting a paycheck and having healthcare. But it really does feel like, you know, we're just burning two ends of a candle and trying to do as much as possible before it all falls apart.